It all started standing over the body of a dead schoolgirl. Her throat had been cut from ear to ear, and she was sprawled naked on her back. It's funny how memory plays tricks on you. I can't remember the colors of the bricks that made up the low building we were standing in. Were they yellow or the usual municipal red? Were the medical examiner's scrubs pale green or light blue or some other color? What I can remember are the tiny traces of the girl's last moments, vivid as flashbulbs. Her grazed knees, the little bits of felt grass sticking to her hair, the sickening wobble of her neck as the examiner checked it. Ah yes, it is broken, he confirmed. It can easily happen when all the supporting muscles are cut through. This was in Grahamstown, now Makanda, in the late 1990s. I was part of an academic team from Rhodes University supporting the police with offender profiling on active cases. The building we were in was the medical examiner's office for the policing district just behind the police station. Both stood guard near the top of the broad road that, in my memory, marked the point where the tides of the old student town met those of the township. The road had originally been built wide to accommodate the turning of ox wagons. Now it was bubbling with the usual mix of people and traffic and livestock that own the streets of the Eastern Cape towns. I remember walking up and down that street a few times over those months, blowing the greasy mortuary smell out of my nostrils, feeling slightly dizzy at being surrounded by the living. Our small team usually went in on the same day as the weekly intake of murder victims from across the policing district, a span of rural settlements and towns in rolling scrubby hills. Usually, the dead in the room outnumbered the living. On that day, our team of trainee psychologists was in the mortuary to start the process of creating an offender profile. That meant we were trying, from the characteristics of the crime, to infer the nature of the offender. In the traces left on the schoolgirl's body, we hoped to discover more about the mind of the man who had murdered her. These inferences would form another strand in the net of evidence and intelligence that the police wove to convict a killer. I can't remember the details of what we inferred in our eventual profile. I wouldn't be able to say with absolute clarity whether the thread we contributed to the police net was useful when the man was arrested. What I remember more vividly than anything was the rush of emotion standing over the dead girl, an incredible surge of outrage, exhilaration, and purpose. This is something I have to do something about. I can help to stop this from happening again. It was that torrent of emotion, or the memory of it, that carried me into my 15-year career in policing. The desire to apply psychology to solve real-life problems remains with me. The first thing that burst of emotion motivated me to do, though, was to volunteer to help the South African Police Service, SAPS, expand its database of information on serial murderers. That's what I did over the next 2 years, traveling around between maximum security prisons, speaking to the men who had committed serial murder. I spoke to a dozen in total. As I went from prison to prison, it became clear that the stories I was being told were important. The men I spoke to wanted to tell their stories. It was important to them that they were heard. As I spoke with convicted murderers about crime after crime, their narratives began revealing a darker aspect. They had helped to create their offending. In 2007, I was working in